Normal is Delaney Newell. Woo! We have a short little list here of all the amazing things that she's been doing during quarantine that are beyond normal. So hang in tight, it's a list, but we're gonna get through it quick. Number 1, she preached last week. She did amazing. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's incredible. It's on our Instagram. If you need the link quickly, it's also on our YouTube channel, which you're watching right now. So there you go. But she did such a good job. So thank you, Delaney, for being obedient to God in that time. I know it's not easy to film yourself and preach at the same time. So thank you. We love you and we love that you did that. The second thing is that she's been delivering treats to her leaders, which is super awesome. Sending them some love during quarantine, but also on top of that, she's been sending their pets some love as well and delivering some treats to their pets as well, which I just think is above and beyond, and also just like the sweetest, kindest little thing. And so you, Delaney. So thank you for that. It touches a leader's heart when they receive something from you, so just thank you for spreading that bit of love to them during this time. The third thing is that her and Kennedy, aka her sister, if you did not know, they are related, filmed a funny game video at the beginning of one of our sermons a couple of weeks ago, and it takes a lot to film a video of yourself doing funny, maybe kind of stupid things in front of your peers. So that's really awesome, and we just thank you so much for filming that and just being okay with doing it in the first place. That's awesome. We love that. So that's really cool, and we thank you again for making that video. It was super funny. I liked it a lot. And the last and final thing, but certainly not the least, during Easter, North Creek sent out boxes to all of their North Creek families of little like communion cups and some jelly beans, and like just to have Easter in their homes. And Delaney stuffed the majority of them, which I think is totally awesome, and she helped deliver some of them, which is again above and beyond normal. So that's our living beyond normal for this week. We thank you so much, Delaney. We honor you today, and again, you killed it last week, and we're just so proud of you, and we're sending all of our love to you this week.
Hey guys, welcome to the next quarantine quotes. We shouldn't have too many more of those because we are gonna bust out soon. But until then, we've got some quotes for you that will give you hope and purpose during this quarantine and help your life. So let's get to this week's. I am going to talk about what you can and cannot do, because right now we are full of stuff we can't do, right? It's like you can't go to a restaurant, you can't have a sleepover with your friends, you can't go to the basketball court and play a pickup game. There are so many things that you cannot do. You can't go to the park, you can't go to the gym, you can't go to a movie theater, you cannot even go to your own graduation. So you are filled with can'ts right now. But I've got stuff for you today that you can do. And yes, this pandemic has taken so much from you guys, and we've talked about that in earlier sermons, so check those out on this YouTube channel if you want to grieve and process and know that you're not alone. But for tonight's message, I don't want to focus on what we can't do. I want to focus on what we can do and what we still have access to. And if we do that, if we really cling to this stuff that we can do and can trust, it is going to change your quarantine. It's going to change your next year. It's going to change your next school year, and it can change your life if you focus on what you can do. So let's get to it. Tonight I've got one verse giving us 3 things that we can, and they'll change everything if you let them. So for tonight, we're going to take our eyes off the stuff that we can't do and that's been robbed of us, and figure out what we can do. So chat below what has been taken from you. For me, mine definitely is not in any particular order, but movies, Applebee's, and Ross. Those are my 3 that I really miss. And so we're going to stop taking a look at that and take a look at what we do have that's not Applebee's, Ross, or the movie theater. So I'm gonna read a verse, and it's actually, in the original language, it's actually a hymn. So it's a song that gives someone encouragement. It doesn't rhyme or sound like a song in English, but it did originally. So it's written in a letter to the city of Colossae, and they are being corrected about something later, but it's saying in the beginning, like, do this because, like, there's so much the good that God has given you that's why we need to give back to him. And so it's setting up this scenario where it's like, here's all the ways that you can trust God. Here's all the things that he gives you and that you can do in him. And so let's respond accordingly to who he is and what he's done. And so I'll explain all the cans later, but first I'll just read it so you have it with you. You can follow along in your Bible or on the screen. It's Colossians 1:15 through 20, and here we go. Christ is the visible image of the invisible God. Think about that for a minute. Like, there's this God we can't see, and he's a Trinity, and he's awesome and amazing, and then he became flesh, and we can see him. So Christ, Jesus, is the visible image of an invisible God. He existed before anything was created. He rules over everything that's been made. Through his power, all things were made. Things in heaven and on earth, things we can see and things we can't see, such as rulers, kingdoms, powers, and authorities of the spiritual world. So much is being said right now. Take note, teenagers. Everything was made through him and for him. The Son was there before anything was made, and all things continue because of him. He holds all creation together. The cans are coming in a little bit, but until then, think about all the good news and truth that is in this verse. Okay, next one. Christ is the head of the church, which is his body, and he's the beginning of everything else. He's the first among all who will be raised from death. So in everything, he is first and most important. God was pleased for all of himself to live in the Son and through him. God was happy to bring all things back to himself, things in heaven and on earth. He made peace with everything in heaven and on earth by Christ's blood and sacrifice on the cross. So let's take a look at that. That was a long verse. Thanks for hanging in there with me. There's so much stuff in there. But what does that have to do with all our cans tonight? We already talked about some of our cans. You chatted below and I said Applebee's, movies, and Ross. But what about our cans? What does this verse give us that we can rely on and celebrate and say, I can do this. I have access to all of that. So there's 3 cans in this verse. Here's the first one. You can trust his plan because he has seen it all. Think about that. If you're going to trust the guide, you're going to trust someone who's already been there, who knows the way. And so when I went on a retreat with my son and the guide said, jump off this cliff, here's where you're going to jump, here's where you're not going to jump, here's what you need to watch out for, here's how you're going to tuck your head. I listened because he's done it. He's been there. He's lived it. And so I could trust that guide. And so as you're thinking about all the things that have been robbed of you and you're fearful of your future and your past might even be coming back to you because of all the alone time you're having with yourself, think about the fact that you can trust God's plan. He has seen it all. He's not sitting here surprised. He's not knocked off his throne. He's not going, what am I going to do now? He has a plan and he's seen it all. Some of the verses that talk about that is Christ is the visible image of the invisible God. He existed before everything was created. So before time began, he had a plan for you. Think about that for a minute. You don't have to worry because he's not worried. He is solid on who you are, who you've created to be, what he has for you in the future. None of that stopped. He rules over everything he's made. He's made you. He hasn't abandoned you. He didn't just create you and then leave and say, figure it out. He's saying, I am with you. You can trust my plan. I've seen where you're going. And that verse also said, Christ is the head of the church and the beginning of everything else. You can lean on him. You can trust him. You can trust his plan. He still has one. It's a good one. It's not thwarted right now or off track right now. He is going to get you to where you want to be. So first you can trust his plan because he's seen it all. Number 2, you can trust his power because he's done it all. These things are going to come together. All 3 of these are going to make the perfect person, being to trust. So you can trust his power. He's done it all. The Son was there before anything was made, and all things continue because of him. He holds all creation together. The world right now doesn't feel that way, right? The things you're reading and seeing, it doesn't feel like he holds creation all together. But he does. You are safe. You are secure. If you stay connected to him, you are standing on a solid rock. And we need that right now because nothing feels solid. Nothing feels secure. Even things a year from now, you're not sure if you can count on because it might be taken away from you. And this verse is saying God holds all creation together so you can trust his power. He has done it all. He's the first among all those who were raised from the dead. Think about that. If he can prove that he can be resurrected, then he can do that for you. You can rely on that. You can trust on that. You can trust his power because he's already done it. So you're next. You get to have access to all that power. And the last part of that verse that has to do with him doing it all is, in everything he is first and most important. God was pleased for all of himself to live in the Son and through him. So God said, here's all that I am. And he's going to be resurrected by power. He's going to live a life of power. He's going to be sinless and crush death, crush your enemy, crush eternity. And you are going to have access to all of that because you can trust his power because he's done it all. He's already done it. He's already won. He already has the victory. And all you need to do then is link yourself to that, and it's yours too. Last can in the midst of all these can'ts. You can trust his provision because he's giving it all. He will provide for you. He will give to you. He will give you what you need. Sometimes what you want, but only if it's what he knows is best that will get you to the thing you actually want, that you don't even know that you need or want. You can trust his provision. He's given it all. The way that verse said it was, through his power, all things were made. Things we can see and things we can't see were made through him. He's already provided. He's already created. He's already given you everything that you need. The things you see and the things you don't. He protects you in ways that you are aware of and ways that you are not. God was happy to bring all things back to himself again. He made peace with everything through Christ's blood and sacrifice. Nothing says, I'm going to give, I'm going to provide like the cross. And he already did it. He already said, everything, literally everything I have to give, I'm giving you. So you can trust his provision because he's already given it. So when you ask God for anything after that, as his child, as a co-heir of Christ, when you ask for that, you're asking someone who already said, I'm willing to give you everything. So if I don't, I have a good reason. And if I do, it's because I'm the giver. And you can trust my provision because I've given it all. Kind of reminds me of our yearly verse, right? Hebrews 11:6, which we're concentrating all year, even if we have to do it virtually, which is God not only exists, but he wants to reward you. He not only is real, but he likes you. He doesn't just love you, he wants to be with you. And so I want you to tuck that away and think about the three things that you can do. Trust his plan because he's already seen it. Trust his power because he's already done it. And trust his provision because he's already given it. And if you're going to trust anything in life, if you're going to have to choose, what am I going to rely on? I'd say make it this. Make it this God and this personal being who has seen it all, done it all, and given it all already. He doesn't even have to prove himself. He already has done it. That's pretty reliable. And so as you look around the world and all the things that you're not sure if you can trust, you're not sure if you can trust the economy. You're not sure if you can trust next school year. You're not sure if you can trust your summer plans. You're not even sure you can trust if Amazon Prime is going to get that thing there in 2 days because the world is crazy. What can you rely on? Of all the things you can't, Applebee's, the movies, Ross, of all the things you can't, what can you do? That verse shows us 3 ways we can trust God and rely on him. That's pretty powerful. And so I want you to chat below what your favorite of those 3 things are. That he's seen it all, done it all, or given it all. That you can trust his plan, power, or provision. I think that for me, I definitely have to go with his plan. Because sometimes I feel like if someone makes some bad decisions or goes crazy for a little while or things don't work out how I want, then I'm like, oh my gosh, everything's ruined. It will be like this forever. And I need to trust that God has a plan and he's already seen it. He already knew that person was going to make that horrible decision. He already knew that temptation was going to go right past that person. He already knew what the response was going to be. And he's a redeeming God anyway. And so I need to trust his plan. So what's yours? Chat it below. And as you do that, I've got your soap verse for tonight. It kind of sums up what we've been talking about tonight. It's in Philippians. It says this, and my God, that's your God, my God will supply every need of yours according to his riches and glory in Christ Jesus. My God will supply all your needs in Jesus. So think about that, memorize it, soap it. Pretty soon we'll be able to go back to Applebee's and the movie theater and Ross and all those things, the gym, church, all those things that we cannot do right now. But as restrictions start to lift, I want you to think about what you've always been able to do, what you've always had access to, all the things that you can do through this God who's done it all, seen it all, and given it all. And so keep yourself linked to that, and you will be co-heirs with Christ. You will have access to all those things. So your discipleship challenge tonight is to create a space where you can do that, to pick a time and a place that can be your little prayer area. And I want you just to be able to prove that you can. I want you to be able to just hang out with that God. I want you to create some time and space where you can meet with him and go, okay, God, what's your plan? Okay, how have you provided? Okay, what does your power give me? How can I live in that power? And just create a space where you can have your prayer requests, where he can prove himself faithful in all these areas. And then post about it. Say your prayer requests. Say your praise reports. Let your friends and family see that he can be trusted. So we're going to go into a time of worship. And what I want you to do is just hang out with God in some way. You can soap that verse, you can journal, you can pray, you can sing, whatever you want to do to connect with God. So I want you to remember in this time of crazy and all these can'ts, that there is a can. You can trust God's power and plan and provision. All right, have fun worshiping, and I can't wait to see what your prayer closet brings to your life. All right, see you at the next Quarantine Quotes.